Hello, Professor Paradise, and everybody else in the Children and Media class. I hope everybody's doing well. So, for my project that I decided to do, I created a website that is somewhat of a review of video games, but more of like an informative website on video games. I play a lot of video games. They're pretty important in my life. I grew up with them. And an issue that I had identified was that as I grew up, I didn't really know that much when I was first getting into it, and neither did my parents, and that was kind of a cause of concern for them because, there's rumors go around. People talk about how video games are very dangerous, talking to strangers and such like that, which are valid concerns. So I wanted to create a space where parents and kids both could go to, learn more about like the culture of video games and how the online structure works because it really it can be a different world sometimes. The way that people act, the way their online personality is somewhat detached from their reality. So the way that I did it was I created like a blog style. I started off with just some info about the website, my first blog, and then I went each game by game. I kind of explained the content of the game too. That was more of the kids aspect if they were coming to look for a game that they wanted to try out or something like that. They could come to here, but then I would also continue with some things that parents should be concerned about, like the content of the game, but that's stuff that you can find out basically anywhere. But then again, like the way that people interact on the game. So, like, for example, I talked about Call of Duty, how there is ways to turn off blood and gore and explosions and stuff like that, but you can't necessarily turn off interactions and the way people act online. And sometimes that culture is a little bit different as you vary game to game. So, for example, Fortnite versus Call of Duty, there's a little bit of a more strong language base for Call of Duty than there is in Fortnite, but both of them have online structures, so just things that parents and kids alike should know before they start getting into the games. And I'm hoping that in doing so, this can kind of create like a base for parents to go on and read about these games and then make a decision, either feel safer about letting their kids play or decide not to let their kids play if they don't feel like they're ready for something like that. So it makes it almost like a layman's terms. I specified the fact that I'm not related to the video games in any way. I don't do that professionally or anything. Just from a person who has experienced this, their point of view, I felt like that this would be something that parents could trust and it could help them since I don't have any monetary reasoning or motivation for what I'm doing here. But yeah, it's been pretty eye-opening to look at video games from a different perspective. I don't typically review games like this. I play them, but it's definitely been interesting, and I hope that other people who maybe are more motivated or could get paid to do this would do something like this, just because I feel like it's important, especially with how prevalent video games have been becoming. I mean, they're much more common now. Almost everybody plays video games at some point, and right now, as we're stuck inside of our houses, I mean, video game usage has jumped tremendously. So knowing how to interact on video games, knowing what kind of interactions take place, knowing what video games are all about, that culture is important. So that's why I decided to do that for my project.